basically production sports cars from 1965 to 1970 with model run-ons. And it was very interesting in practice yesterday because in most categories the favourites were mixed up a bit with the rest of the field, the tight track evening out things. And on the front row of the grid this morning we've got car number 30, Neil Dunn, in his Austin Healey 6. Quite a big car to be quick around this circuit, so Neil did very well yesterday to be on the front row of the grid. And next to him is car 54, Michael Byrne in a latest Europa, which should go a fair bit quicker around such a tight circuit. And on the second row of the grid we have car 25, Michael Spruitt. Michael's always a strong front runner in his MGB, and he's in third position today as the cars approach the grid to the first event.
Also, John, another guest commentator this morning at Wakefield Park is John Cummins. Welcome along this morning, John.
Thank you very much, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and it's great to see the crowd already coming in at such an early hour on a Sunday, but I think we better get going on the grid. We're only down to the third row, and I see the Mini Marcos, car 71 there, John.
Yes, that's Jeff Dunlop's car, which has just completed a very extensive rebuild after a big shunt at Emeroo about 18 months ago, John. It looks fine now. Next to him is the Revolting ISO, now owned by Peter Griffin, who was punting around a supercharged Mercedes 190 SL last time I saw him, so he's no stranger to horsepower.
22, the MGB.
That's the car of Jeff Pike. Jeff used to run a TD, a very regular competitor in MGs, and very active in the MG car club. Next to him is another latest Europa, car 154 of David Hayden. Latest Europa S2, and then we get back to the first of the Lanciers. Lancia is very popular in this category, and Graham Towers has been one of the prime movers in the Lancia club, and he's back there in car number 9. But everyone looking fairly anxious. It's the first event at Wakefield Park, John. Very exciting.
Oh, very exciting moment, particularly for John Carter and Paul Samuels. They've worked very, very hard to get this circuit up and running, and it's a great credit to them. Oh, a bit of creeping going on there for the front two. I wonder whether there's a minute penalty there. And a great start from 154, that Europa you were talking about, as he blasts his way down, mixes it up with the other leaders, and probably gained a couple of spots and now dropped back. So he's outsmarted himself already.
And a big start from Peter Griffin in the ISO. He's really got the power of the ground. He's up in the third spot with the tiny little Mini Marcos just behind him as they head up the S's up the hill for the first time, John.
Well, we've got a circuit map here because we've already got some sponsored corners, which is nice to see the local trade houses, and we're going to sort of probably forget about what some of these corners are initially until we get a little bit used to them, so you'll have to forgive us for that.
John, what year models are these cars running around the track at this stage?
Oh, 1965 up to about 1970, most of them.
What would it cost for Mr. and Mrs. Average to get into one of these cars and race them here today?
Well, you can buy a tired MGB for about 4,000 to 5,000 and then spend double that on it, and then you're in business.
And John, it's Michael Byrne from Victoria in his latest Europa, looking very good through the fish hooks as they head up to Geisler hairpin for the first time. He's opened up a big lead over the Healey 106, which has been quickly gobbled up by Peter Griffin, having what I think's his first run in the ISO, as they head to the straight for the first time for the first lap of the first historic meeting at Wakefield Park.
And the ISO is stretching its legs now. It's going to move up to second spot. Very, very quick car's got a lot of horsepower, somewhere close to 600 horsepower, so it should go well.
And Peter had a lot of trouble with it yesterday, but he's really got it cooking today after a lot of work in the pit area yesterday.
Yeah, as I saw him lying underneath it this morning having a bit of a fiddle with it, and obviously whatever he's done, he's really sorted it out, and he's cut the lead of the Europa down quite considerably now. But around the twisty bits, the Europa will probably get away from him, and they'll repeat the process once again when they get down onto the straight yet again.
Neil Dunn going well in his Healey 106, and he's being harried by Jeff Dunlop in the little Mini Marcos, which must be a lot easier to drive through the twisty bits.
Well, he lost it yesterday in practice. He did a very good one. In fact, we had him nominated for the Shovel Award, but he missed out. There was somebody better than him.
Yeah, I think he did it on about 3 consecutive laps at one stage, so, but he's keeping it on the island today in 4th spot. But he's being harried very closely by the MGB car 45 of Greg King, another consistent front runner in Grid SB, as they head up towards the Geisler hairpin for the second time. But the little red and white Europa's way out in front, John.
Yes, it certainly is. Well, it's light. It has excellent cornering characteristics, and having good cornering ability is what you really need here at Wakefield.
And the big ISO winds up again for the second time down the main straight, gathers in the Europa.
And a challenge from the little Marcos now as he sneaks up onto the tail of the big Healy, and I think there might be a passing move as they get into the sweeper or the hairpin.
Yeah, Jeff Dunlop's been very desperate in practice, so in the race nothing will slow him down as he tries to hang on to the flying Healy of Neil Dunn from Victoria. Michael Spruitt losing a bit of ground in the first corner there and being harried by a couple of the other MGBs. There's a desperate passing move, 3 MGBs side by side as they go up the S's. They just won't fit. I know I've tried it around there. Greg King, I think, making the big gains that time as they head up around the top of the circuit for the third time. But the little Lotus Europa's well out in front, John.
Oh yes, it's going very, very hard indeed. It sits very, very flat on the road. Doesn't have a lot of weight transfer like some of the bigger cars.
The ISO is sort of wiggling and waggling through the fish hooks, but he gets through there fairly quickly for a big car, and he's got a very comfortable second place over Neil Dunn. The Mini Marcos getting a bit of a hurry up at the moment from Greg King in his MGB Mark 1. Greg having moved up through the field a little bit, made up a lot of ground on the Mini Marcos. So they head up to Geisler hairpin for the third time. It's a 6-lap scratch race, so they're about halfway there.
The ISO actually gaining a little bit this time. He's very, very much closer to the Europa. In fact, he's right on the tail as they get down to the 50 metre braking marker. I suppose as a historic race we can say 50 yards, can't we?
We can. The ISO blasted out of that first corner and made up another 10 or 20 metres, and right behind the Lotus Europa. It'll be interesting next time around. He's losing a bit of ground as they head up the hill.
Of course, one of the big things here at Wakefield Park is having the right gearing, because a lot of cars can be in between 2 intermediate gears, and that causes a bit of a disadvantage. Well, we've got a spin up on the top of the circuit, somebody facing the wrong direction.
Here's the Neil Dunn Healy. He's been all over the track after being in opposition yesterday. He's right back into that 8th spot now. Meanwhile, the ISO's a lot closer coming into the fish hooks this time. It'll be interesting in the straight. And also, Jeff Dunlop's being harried through the twisty bits by Greg King and his MGB. Greg looking very intent on 3rd spot, climbing all over the back of the Mini Marcos as they head on the long run down towards the Geisler hairpin for the 4th time. Darren Williamson having worked his way up a bit into, where is he, in 6th spot in his MGB. Michael Spruitt behind him. But the Lotus Europa is still quite comfortable in front. The Lotus Europa of Michael Byrne as they head into turn 1 for the, must be the 4th time. The big ISO very quick out of that first corner.
Tremendous amount of torque, of course, from this car with its big Chev engine. Got slowed down with one of the Lanciers that they were just lapping, and it's allowed a gap to appear. But there's all sorts of little dices all the way through the field, and I think that's part of the joy of racing here at Wakefield, is that you'll have somebody to drive with no matter where you are in the field.
There's no doubt about that. Graham Vaughan's just gone through in his pretty little Lotus Series 4, and Graham heavily involved in the Brolga sports car many years ago, and good to see him back in motorsport in his Lotus Elan, which he runs in lots of events.
Both Johns, have you actually been on the track at all and tested the track in your cars?
Well, not in my car, it's not quite finished yet, but at the family day in July I had the opportunity to drive the monoskate and the
John Murn
Jr.
I'm actually running in regularity, so I
so
had plenty of fun here yesterday.
Good. As they come down Castrol Straight for lap 5 or lap 6, so this is the...
Last lap board is out for them.
It is the last lap, yes. Car 54, followed by car 37.
The ISO climbing right up on the back of the Lotus Europa as they head into turn 1. It'll be interesting to see if he can pull up on him again out of the corner. He's as close as he's ever been, and he gathers in the Lotus Europa as they head up towards the S's, but the Lotus just maintaining the space as they head towards the top of the hill and now starting to pull away, John. I don't think he will be able to catch him.
Well, if he can stay like that all the way around the rest of the circuit, when he gets to the straight, maybe he'll be able to do it, because he's very, very much closer than he has. Oh, the Lotus out in the dirt, then two wheels on the dirt, and that allowed the ISO to get right on his tail. And oh, the ISO going for an inside passing move, yes, and they're side by side as they tear down to Carter's curves, or the fish hooks, but that's not the proper name. It's the chicane.
Peter Griffin all over the track, and he's not even at a corner yet. Desperation here. And the little Lotus Europa having led all the way of Michael Murn.
It's very hard to get past once that manoeuvre's been executed. I mean, it's all right to lead, but to get past is something else again.
And the ISO now pulling away. He's got a good lead, and I don't think he'll be able to be headed once he hits the straight and narrow. And also Greg King has gotten past Jeff Dunlop for third spot.
Well, it's all happened on the last lap.
The best place for it to happen, John.
As they come down Castrol Straight, car 37 is absolutely flat. And there's the winner, car 37 by car 54.
And Peter Griffin has the honour of winning the first historic event at Wakefield Park, something to be very proud of in the
That will give him
Holding ISO.
plenty of chuff, I would think.
I would think so, John.
Our next race is the Group 1 and 3 vintage and post-vintage cars and classic touring cars, which should be absolutely magnificent. We'll be back after this at 10 minutes past 9 at Wakefield Park.